Madam Speaker, if you listen carefully, he said, and I would beg that you cause the Hansard to be printed tomorrow, to be tabled before this House. If he never said it, then it will rest there. If he said it, Honorable Speaker, because from my clear listening of his English, he was imputing improper motive on my person. And I do not take that kindly.
Thank you,
because
Majority
it is an
Leader.
attempt to intimidate me to never speak about those thieves in the handshake regime. And I will continue to call them out, Honorable Speaker. And I must demand that I am protected as a member of parliament to call out thieves. Because that is my work as a member of parliament.
Upon Majority Leader,
you know, I can name you, even those of you who are here.
I direct that the Hansard be provided for review tomorrow. And I think now we can proceed to the next order. Honorable members, let us be orderly about this. I have clearly stated that my recollection is that you barely speculated about him having immense knowledge. But unless it's... No, we'll wait for we'll look at the... Because one has made another... Because you're having a back and forth. No, let the Hansard... I've directed that we shall check the Hansard, because both of you are accusing each other, so it's better to look at the Hansard, which is neutral. I know what I'm going to check for in the Hansard. Honorable member, you don't have the mic anymore. We shall check the Hansard. Yes. And I think Honorable Wanjala, I think you'll be escorted out. Yeah. Does he have what is it? I can't see the... Let me see. Honorable... wait, Honorable Wanjala, let me see. Honorable... Honorable... Honorable Wanjala, I think what is being stated is that a trench coat is not a suit. That's a trench coat. You have a suit underneath your trench coat. No, we are not giving you the mic. Let us proceed to the next order. I've already ruled that we are going to the next order. Okay. You're out of order. You're out of order, Honorable Wanjala. Honorable Wanjala, you're out of order. Even shouting from your chair, you're out of order. I have ruled you out of order. You do not have permission to speak. Leader of my minority. Leader minority. You can name him. You can name him. And yes. Not have a back and forth on this. Honorable Owen Bayer, I think we are moving to the next. Yes. He's left. Thank you. Honorable Owen Bayer, we are on your order. You're on that next
Honorable
order.
Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 331, I raise to seek leave for the adjournment of the House for the purposes of discussing
Honorable Wanjala, You have done the right thing now, so you're not out of order. But if you continue on a shouting match, you then will be out of order again. And then you will have to leave the house. It's as simple as that. So you better be quiet. Okay, Honorable Bayer, please proceed.
Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 33-1, I rise to seek leave for the adjournment of the House for the purposes of discussing a definite matter of urgent national importance regarding mysterious killings in Shakahola in Kilifi County. Honorable Speaker, many lives have been lost in Shakahola, Kilifi County as a result of radical religious teachings by a controversial pastor named Paul Ndenge Mackenzie. It is reported that Pastor Ndenge Mackenzie, through his purportedly skewed radical religious teachings, has been manipulating and indoctrinating locals to undertake extended periods of fasting in order to meet Jesus. A number of these people are reported to have died in the process in order to meet Jesus.
Order, honorable members, please stop engaging. Member for Fujula, the Honorable Professor Oundo. Don't excite Honorable Wanjala.
Thank you. Yes, Didmas, Captain Didmas, please. Thank you. A number of these people are reported to have died in the process, including 2 children whose deaths in March 2023 were linked to the pastor. Shockingly, several bodies have also been discovered in what are suspected to be secret graves used to bury starved followers of Pastor Paul Mackenzie on his 800-acre ranch in Shakahola. The bodies have since been exhumed by the authorities. Honorable Speaker, the purported pastor has been arrested twice in 2019 and in March of this year in relation to the death of children. However, he was released on bond and both cases are still proceeding through the courts. The residents of Kilifi County urged the court not to release him, decrying the spread of cults in other regions of the country, but their plea was not heeded. As a result, today, over 90 bodies believed to be followers who fasted to death have been exhumed in his ranch as of today, April 2023. Honorable Speaker, appreciating the freedom of worship, there is need for the government to enact laws and policies that prohibit and discourage unlawful practices that are not in line with conventional religious teachings and beliefs of a community in order to uphold the security of citizens. Honorable Speaker, it is for this reason that I seek leave for the adjournment of the House in order to deliberate on the matters so as to chart the way forward and propose possible lasting solution. Honorable Speaker, allow me to give a highlight of some of the key matters arising out of this motion. The Good News International Ministry is believed to have been founded in Kenya in 2003 by Paul Ndenge Mackenzie and his wife Joyce Mwikamba and operated for a long time in Migingo in Malindi. Madam Speaker, the church has had various run-in with the law and has been largely associated with radicalism. In 2010, in 2017, Mr. Mackenzie and his wife were charged with promoting radicalization as well as denying children access to health care and education, and running a school and a television station unauthorized. The latter precipitated the closure of the television station the following year by the government. Honorable Speaker, in 2017, the then MP for Malindi, Honorable Aisha Jumwa, actually had a run-in and exposed this pastor then when he started his cultic activities. He told children not to go to school. He asked people, graduates of universities, to tear up their certificates and degrees and diplomas and told them education is not part of God's plan. And this shocked the nation. But the Honorable Aisha stood her ground. But because at that time, Honorable Aisha Jumwa was associated with the deputy president then, she was shut up, and Mackenzie was allowed to continue. Until now, when we have an IG who has come out very strongly to say this man now must be apprehended. But then in 2017, nobody bothered. Honorable Speaker, in 2018, community leaders in Malindi said Mackenzie was dangerous. Nobody listened. He ran a television station. That television station taught radical things. And I remember the chairman then of the Kenya Film Board pulled down the station. But there were people in government who said the station can go on, and even took him to court, and he was released. Red flags were raised on Pastor Paul Mackenzie, but nobody listened in the government then. Honorable Speaker, Mackenzie also faced other controversies. In 2019, he was arrested for inciting the public against the registration for Huduma number by likening it to the biblical number of the beast, the 666. Mackenzie was arrested. He was taken to court. Influential people said he should be released. He was released. Pastor Mackenzie said the Kenyan Constitution was an evil document brought to Kenya by the devil himself. Then, and a red flag was raised, but somehow he found his way back again into circulation to continue to preach that gospel again. He actually said the Constitution of Kenya is satanic, but he was allowed to continue with his work. Honorable Speaker, he has resurfaced again in 2023. And this time it is tragic. He is believed to have brainwashed his followers into starvation. But himself, he eats, a father of 17 children. His children are eating and feeding well. His wife lives in a beautiful house, eating and feeding well, while he is telling his followers not to eat because it is time for them to meet Jesus. That is the tragedy of Paul Mackenzie. His 17 children and his wife, yes, are doing very well and living comfortable. But here we are faced with over 90 bodies have been exhumed and still counting. It is believed by those who are eyewitnesses, we are likely to find over 200 bodies buried in that 800 farm. This is a tragedy. This is terrorism. This is a man who has the mind of killing people and derives pleasure in looking and watching people die. This is a man who has committed a genocide on this soil, a man who should not be walking in the streets of this country. This is a man who should be behind bars. Actually, he is safer behind bars other than outside. Honorable Speaker, the judiciary in this cannot go unblamed. Even when red flags had been raised about possible terrorist activities by this pastor, last time when he was taken to court in March, he was released on a bond of 10,000 shillings. 10,000. And a magistrate who actually was told, this man has caused the death of these two children, let him go on a bond of only 10,000. As the discoveries continue, Honorable Speaker, we need to put a stop to radicalization. For many years, this country has invested in Islamic radicalization. But we are watching systematic radicalization by people who call themselves pastors. People who just rise out of nowhere. Today, Kilifi has one of the biggest cities that is being built by a pastor. A pastor who we are all suspicious whose intention it is he has. He has built a huge city, a multi-billion city if you go to Mavueni in my constituency. That pastor came here today, that pastor, their children who go to school and they carry white handkerchiefs on their heads as they are doing exams because they have bought those handkerchiefs from the pastor. They carry water that they have bought from that pastor. They come to class and they put the water in their ears so that they can learn better.
Honorable Kamket, you can't be wearing your tie as you walk into the house. You can just go back and get dressed first.
Honorable Speaker, We are entertaining this pastor, but one day, I can assure you we'll have another Mackenzie. Today, children who are sick are being withdrawn from the Kilifi County Hospital and taken there to that pastor. They are prayed for, they die, and they are taken. Women and men who take antiretroviral drugs are being told to stop. Sick people on diabetic are being told stop taking drugs, and you come, we pray for you. They die there, and nobody is talking about it. But I can assure you, Honorable Speaker, we will face another massacre from that pastor. But nobody wants to talk about it. A multi-billion investment. Where does this pastor get the money? You go there and buy water very expensively. Cultic activities are increasing, and Kilifi has been targeted as the seat of this cultic. Honorable Speaker, as I finish.
What's your point of order, Honorable Mbui?
Honorable.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity, Madam Speaker. And I'm rising on the point of order of dress code in the House. The Honorable Didmas Baraza has just walked in, and he's got on a cape which is not religious, and it is also not parliamentary. Madam Speaker, we cannot have double standards. Last Parliament, the Honorable Didmas Baraza was sent out for wearing that cape. In this Parliament, he keeps coming with it. He was sent out by the Honorable Justin J.B. Muturi as Speaker. He was sent out. It is in record. He was sent out. So we cannot have double standards. And Madam Speaker, I also want to say that the jacket that the Honorable Member was told to remove, I wore such a jacket to the House and was allowed to stay with it in last Parliament. So I don't know whether the rules have changed. Madam Speaker, he's out of order. He needs to get out.
Honorable Speaker.
Proceed.
Honorable Speaker, probably because this Pastor Mackenzie is called Pastor Ndenge Mackenzie, and I hear Robert Mbui is also called Mbui Ndenge. He wants to derail. He wants to derail my presentation. Honorable Speaker, what I would like
Member, if you just put the intervention button, then I will see you.
Honorable Speaker,
there's no need to do a shouting.
Honorable Speaker, this should be a wake-up call to Kenyans and local administration, where in spite of the long chain from Nyumba Kumi to Wazewa Vijiji and all that, these activities of Paul Mackenzie took place in the eyes of everybody, and nothing happened. Honorable Speaker, I think we have an opportunity as the 13th Parliament to put our foot down and stop the death and massacre and genocide of Kenyans by pastors who purport to preach a gospel that is alternative to the gospel of Jesus Christ. I thank you. I beg to move, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Kilifi County, Honorable Gertrude Bayu.
That was a point of order.
Asante Bi Speaker, nasimama kwa hoja hii iliyoletwa na mbunge wa Kilifi. Asante Bi Speaker, nataka kuzungumzia hoja hii iliyoletwa na Mheshimiwa Owen.
Honorable Member, I've just asked you to put your... But you're shouting now. So you get seated. When you stop shouting, then I'll ask you to make your point of order.
Asante, Madam Speaker, wacha niendelee.
You've been badly behaved since all
Bi Speaker, wacha nizungumzie
member for Kilifi.
Hoja hii, nikiwa mwakilishi wa kike kule Kilifi, Bi Speaker, hii ni hoja ambayo inagusa Wakenya wote. Bi Speaker, Pastor Mackenzie amekuwa Kilifi karibu miaka 10 saizi, na mimi nataka kumshangaa hasa Mheshimiwa Owen. Pastor Mackenzie alikuja Kilifi, Mheshimiwa Owen akiwa County Secretary wa Kilifi County Government, na hii story alijua. Akapigwa vita na Mheshimiwa Aisha Pastor Mackenzie, yeye akiwako kama kiongozi. Leo analeta hii hoja tuzungumze hapa, watu wetu wamekufa. watu wamezikwa kwa makaburi pale juu, wanafukuliwa. Mheshimiwa Owen hajachukua hatua ya kwenda Shakahola kuona nini kunaendelea kule. Nasikia aibu sana akileta hoja ndani ya bunge, watu wanafukuliwa kule, hajakanyaga kule kama kiongozi wa serikali iliyo mamlakani. Mheshimiwa Speaker.
Honorable member for Kilifi, debate the motion.
Mheshimiwa Speaker, nataka kukuambia wazi, upetelevu wa kazi ya serikali iliyo mamlakani imesababisha vifo kule Shakahola. Wapi serikali ilikuwa wapi? Makundi ya ujasusi yalikuwa wapi? Watu wakae bila chakula, wasinwe maji. Mzee wa kijiji yuko, mzee wa nyumba 10 yuko, sabu chifu yuko, chifu yuko, viongozi NSAS wapi? Hawa DCI wa Malindi na Magarini, watu wafe wazikwe bila wao kupeana taarifa kwa serikali. Serikali imelegea katika utendaji kazi, Speaker, na lazima nizungumzie watu wa kwetu. Kwa nini haikujulikana? Watu wanakaa pale Shakahola, hakuna taarifa, mpaka watu wamekufa wamezikwa. Leo mnatuletea hoja mkiwa upande wa serikali ati tuangalie haya. Serikali imekuwa wapi? Vyombo vya usalama vya serikali viko wapi? Watu wamekufa wamezikwa. Hatuwezi kukubaliana na hii hoja. Upatelevu wa kazi. Speaker, polisi, DCI, NSIS wanaangalia maandamano ya Mheshimiwa Raila, wanaacha watu wanakufa Shakahola. Mnashika wabunge wa upinzani Azimio, watu wanakufa Shakahola, hamjui. Mnaoenda kununua tear gas ya Azimio, watu wanakufa, serikali haijui watu wa Kilifi wanakufa. Serikali ichukue hatua, iweze kuona ni vipi. Pastor Mackenzie, Speaker, wewe ni wakili, mwanasheria mkubwa. Pastor Mackenzie alishikwa. Jaji wa Malindi anamtoa kwa bondi ya 10,000, watoto 2 wamekufa. Oye amesema serikali imepoteza mwelekeo, watu wetu wamekufa kule Kilifi, maiti zimefukuliwa, makaburi ya nchi mbili. Speaker, wataka kuniambia chifu alikuwa hajui? DCC alikuwa hajui kule Magarini na Malindi? Lazima serikali ichukue hatua, take responsibility. Watu wetu wamekufa, watu wanakufaje, serikali haijui? Tunakuja kuambiwa hapa na deputy leader wa yeye ndo macho kule Kilifi wa rais, hajaenda kule kuona hizi maiti, analeta motion hapa ndani ya bunge. Aibu sana kwa serikali iliyo mamlakani, na tunataka watu wetu wachukue hatua. Asante, Speaker.
Honorable members, order, honorable members, order, honorable members. Let us be respectful and allow everyone to say their bit. You can respond when it's your turn. I think you'll be followed after Honorable Osoro, and then we'll come to you, Honorable Majority Leader.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this is a very sensitive matter, and it's a matter that touches on the deaths of very many innocent lives. And it's actually about time that we discuss these things soberly without blame games. Because if we start discussing on, raising aspersions and raising issues, and talking to each other, or rather at each other, it will really be, it will paint us in a very bad picture as a country, because we actually lose the entire thing. Because if we actually start blaming us or blaming each other, then we'll start blaming each other from way back. Because if I listen to Honorable Gertrude very clearly, she of course blames the government, which is okay. But again, when you read and follow the history of Mr. Mackenzie, you realize that he actually left Malindi, or that area,
on or about 2 years ago, you know, and most of these things that happened within the handshake government. So we really do not want to go to those things. When the government was focusing on handshake and deals and everything, COVID-19 haste and everything, such things were happening. But Honorable Speaker, that is not the direction as leaders we should be taking. What we should actually be asking ourselves as a house that makes laws, how do we sit down and regulate this radicalization or regulate these religious groups that are cropping up? And I think that is more important, because what has already happened. We already see reaction by the government. We've seen the police there. We've seen today the Minister of Interior there. We've seen so many rescue missions happening there. We've seen people being taken, of course, for rescue centers and such. That is now water under the bridge. What we should be discussing in this house is what we should do to regulate these religious cults that are happening. And for me, Honorable Speaker, I get surprised all over, because this thing has happened, is actually happening all over. When people choose to believe human beings, the good book, in the book of John chapter 10, verse 10, promises life and life in abundance. You do not need a broker to get to Christ. You do not need any person to stand by your way when you're going to Christ as Christians. And I do not understand at times that people have chosen, even the learned ones, have chosen to go, you know, to be radicalized by people, and some who are actually not learned, calling themselves serious titles, doctors, so and so, how they acquired those doctorates, I mean, really cannot be explainable. And for us, Honorable Speaker, for this House, it is about time we come up with measures. We have the responsibility to regulate these churches. We have the responsibility to come up with law. If it means coming up with a particular ministry or proposing some particular act of parliament, particularly for these churches or religious groups, then so be it. We can go the Rwanda way, where you can't just wake up one morning and open a church and change your voice and twist your voice and speak as though you've been preaching the entire night and start saying, I spoke to God last night, I spoke to him this morning, I spoke to him over lunchtime, and then make people give you money. It was actually very sad to read a story of a lady, a air hostess, that decided to dispose of her property at a meager amount of about 7 million. I hear the property is worth 50 million. And she took that money to the pastor who is not fasting. And then she went to the forest to fast inside the forest where the pastor is eating. And worse, I hear that these people had even the supervisors and people taking, you know, moving around to see whether they are fasting. Monitors moving around, they are whipping them to see whether they are fasting. It is actually wrong. It is wrong. And for us, as the government is doing, you know, much in regard to recovery of the bodies and such, the House needs to sit down and come up with measures to regulate that. But even as I finish, Honorable Speaker, the world should know that there is nothing wrong in owning anything on earth. In the book of Psalms 24:1, Honorable Speaker, the earth is the Lord, and the fullness thereof. The world and what dwells therein belongs to God. So the imaginary thing of some people telling them, sell your things, that these things belong to the earth. Even that earth belongs to God. It is wrong to radicalize people, and especially children. So instead of the honorable member for Kilifi, you know, raising questions and her voice towards our colleague, they should come up with measures as leaders from that county and do away with
the honorable member for Kilifi South, Ken Chonga.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Initially, I wanted to put a point of order from the move of the motion after he mentioned that at some point, Honorable Aisha Jumwa actually made a comment about this. But because he was supporting President Ruto, the matter was neglected. Honestly, it would give a deviation from how we are supposed to debate this motion. But notwithstanding, Madam Speaker, I'm glad that you have given me an opportunity to contribute. And to this motion, I remember yesterday I even tweeted on this matter. Honestly, this is a matter that has been there from 2017. It is on record that in 2017, Mackenzie was taken to court. And from that time, Madam Speaker, the intelligence agencies, security agents, had the responsibility of putting a radar on this kind of a speaker, Madam Speaker. In 2019, the same speaker was again taken to court, released on a cash bail of 10,000, Madam Speaker. Is he working in cohort with the security agencies? Quite a number of things, bad things have been happening in Kenya. This is not the first incident that has happened. We have had stories of security lapse even in those areas where there's cattle rustling and what have you. Madam Speaker, where are we putting Kenyans in such a situation? This same pastor, whom today I'm told he's about to be released on bond, honestly, the stories coming out, this murder or whatever has been going on for years in that farm, and the government actually has not taken any step. It's quite a pity, Madam Speaker. If you hear what Mheshimiwa Soro has said, what the move of this bill has said, it is quite a pity. While the other regime may be blamed that it never took the opportune time to address this, Madam Speaker, I concur with the woman rep of Kilifi County, what she has said. Honestly, from when the government started hearing about this matter, it is yesterday that the president made a statement about it. Is it because the people of Kilifi are not shareholders of this country? Today we were told that the CS for Interior is in Shakahola. 1 week after this matter is being brought to the limelight of the world, today is when the CS for Interior is going to Shakahola. Where do we put ourselves? The number of people in that land are still so many. Those who are still fasting in that land are still so many. We have only been seeing the security agents moving around, actually exhuming, but I think we need to do more than that. 800 acres of land is not a small piece of land, Madam Speaker. We really need a contingent of policemen to go and comb that land, because I am very sure there are still so many people, even as we speak, who are dying. There is no way the government can put a blind eye on what is going on today in Shakahola, Madam Speaker. In fact, if anything, the CS Interior should order a serious contingent to camp in that land for the sake of those who are there waiting to die. And taking a rider from the deputy leader of majority, he has mentioned about another church which is within his constituency. I am aware about that church. He didn't mention the pastor. It is Pastor Mackenzie, Pastor Ezekiel. We are being told that Pastor Mackenzie was actually a follower of Pastor Ezekiel. It is true, even in that church. We have heard about this pastor being a follower of Pastor Ezekiel. What we would request from this house, should that be the case, we are requesting investigators to be moved into that church.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Member. Just for your information, every member gets 5 minutes. 5 minutes each, being an adjournment motion. The next chance will go to the member for a buy.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Mimi nami nasimama
kuunga hoja hii. Kwanza nimshukuru Mheshimiwa Owen Baya kuja na hoja hii ambayo kufikia sahihi. Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka niseme kwamba kwa niaba ya mimi na wakazi wote wa Rabai tunatoa rambirambi zetu kwa wakazi wote wa eneo bunge la Malindi ambao wameweza kupata maafa haya, hususan kufikia leo kuna zaidi ya miili 90 ambayo imeweza kufufuliwa kupitia yale makaburi. Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka niseme kwamba mimi ninakashifu yale mauaji ambayo yaliweza kufanyika kupitia kwa Pastor Mackenzie. Mheshimiwa Spika, japo dini inaturuhusu tuweze kufunga, kitabu cha Mungu kitakatifu, Biblia takatifu, kitabu cha Mungu Mathayo 4 inasema kwamba Yesu Kristo aliweza kufunga kwa siku 40. Na mimi niseme kwamba dini inaturuhusu tufunge, na kufunga, Mheshimiwa Spika, kuko aina mbili. Ndugu zetu Waislamu wakati wanafunga mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhani wanamkia njaa, wanashinda na njaa, na kufika jioni wanafungua kwa kuweza kupata chakula, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na pia niseme kwamba kupitia dini ya Kikristo, hususan Wakatoliki, wanafunga kwa kunywa maji na kufikia jioni wanakula chakula. Mheshimiwa, niko hapa kukashifu kikamilifu dini ambayo msimamizi wake ni mchungaji Mackenzie, kwa sababu alikuwa anawaeleza waamini wake waweze kufunga bila kula chakula chochote. Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka niseme mimi nikiwa mmoja wa viongozi wa Pwani, viongozi kutoka Kilifi, nataka niseme kwamba ni jambo la aibu siku ya leo Mama County, Mama Women Rep, tulikuwa tunamtazamia yeye aweze kusimama kidete ili kuweza kuungana na wale wote ambao wameweza kupata maafa haya kule Kilifi. Leo hii badala ya yeye kusimama kidete na wale ambao wameweza kupata maafa haya, yeye yuko hapa kukashifu viongozi wengine. Hii ni jambo la aibu sana, Mheshimiwa Spika. Mimi ninaomba serikali iweze kuja na taratibu, makanisa yote yaweze kuorodhewa ili kila kanisa liweze kutambuliwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, ninaomba wachungaji wote kupitia serikali waweze kukaguliwa na kupewa vibali ili tuweze kujua wachungaji hawa wanatumia njia gani, ama ni wachungaji hawa wanatumia tabia gani za kuweza kuzungumza na waamini wao. Mwisho, Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka niulize serikali ili kitendo kama hichi kisiweze kutokea katika taifa letu. Niulize serikali iweze kusimama na kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba wazee wetu wa nyumba 10 na wazee wa mtaa wanalipwa mishahara. Jambo hili la wazee wa mitaa na wazee wa nyumba 10 wangekuwa wanalipwa mishahara, jambo hili lingekuwa limeweza kutatuliwa kabla ya kufikia pale limefika. Mheshimiwa Spika, asante sana, nasimama kuunga hoja hii. Asante.
Thank you. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I rise to support this adjournment motion by the Honorable Owen Baya, who hails from Kilifi County, and I would really implore on the other members, just like the Honorable Ken Chonga has done, this is not the opportunity to point fingers at each other. And it's unfortunate that the area women rep opted to use this motion as an opportunity to attack the character of the Honorable Owen Baya, instead of commending the Honorable Owen Baya that he has done what he ought to do as a member of parliament, is to bring issues that are of concern to the people of Kilifi to the debating house that can resolve issues that are of concern to them. Honorable Speaker, I have also seen a few idle minds, I have to say, Honorable Speaker, move around with photos, Photoshop a photo of this Pastor Mackenzie with a leader, with an MP, and say this is this and this person's friend. And it's really cheap, Honorable Speaker. And as leaders, we should avoid taking that direction, Honorable Speaker. This is a time, Honorable Speaker, we are talking about a massacre of close to 100 Kenyans. And worst of all, Madam Speaker, is that the people who have suffered the most under this character are children, young children. And you hear this radicalization, people are being told to first make their children, then their husbands, then finally themselves to fast and die to be able to meet Jesus. But Honorable Speaker, it's not just members of parliament who are now here pointing fingers at each other. Look at our security agencies. NIS is pointing fingers at the police. The police are saying we have done our bit, pointing fingers at the judiciary. I am here to see who the judiciary will point fingers at, but they will also point their fingers back at the police to say the police did not conduct adequate investigations. But this, Honorable Speaker, does not solve the problem before us. And as leaders, we must dissuade ourselves and discourage each other from using opportunities like this that touch on the lives of our people to do cheap politics. Honorable Speaker, when 73 to 75 people, and I'm sure they are still exhuming more bodies, are dying in a village, as small as Shakahola village is, Honorable Speaker, there was a chief who is being paid by the government. And you know, when I listened to the Honorable Mbeyu ask where was the deputy leader of minority, who is from a neighboring constituency, I wondered, you are the women rep. I would dare ask you, where were you? At least the deputy leader of minority has brought a motion for us to discuss and come up possibly with laws, and we must not make this a talk show where we will just pick and it ends there. I will challenge the Honorable Gertrude Mbeyu to come up with a law, probably, or any one of us, we challenge ourselves to come up with laws that will see to it that no more Kenyans are radicalized with the pretext of religion, Honorable Speaker. Be it Christianity, be it Hinduism, be it Islam, Honorable Speaker. And I agree with what the President said yesterday. This is a terrorist who should be dealt with as a terrorist, together with those who are prefecting people as they fast in the bushes, Honorable Speaker. But we must also speak to the government of the day. It is true this has been going on since 2017. Those who are there ahead of you might have been busy with running after politicians and using NIS and other security agencies to run after politicians. Those in office today, CS Kindiki today, is a CS for the interior. And it is okay to visit Shakahola, but we want to see maximum deployment of even sniffer dogs. If we are to save one extra life today, if it is sniffer dogs that will traverse the 800 or even 8 acres of land to save one extra life from these terrorists, let us see that deployment of security forces and all other equipment and whatever they will use to save their lives, even as they continue to exhume bodies. But, Honorable Speaker, I support this motion and commend the Honorable Owen Bayer for having taken up his role as a leader from Kilifi. And I must say it is rather shaming to watch, as I sit here, what the Honorable women rep for Kilifi was attempting to do, Honorable Speaker, to play very cheap politics, Honorable Speaker. And I want to really beg that even as we discuss this issue, we discuss it with the
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Majority Leader, we will not add. It is an adjournment motion, 5 minutes. Minority Leader.
Madam Speaker, let me once again add my voice to this matter. And I see us losing the point, really. Because in my view, as we speak, there's even no accused person who is in court. We only have a suspect. I'm hoping that there'll be evidence to charge somebody and eventually have them convicted and probably jailed. But as we speak, Madam Speaker, the issue at hand is that governments or states anywhere in the world have got a cardinal responsibility to protect life and property of its citizens. There can be no higher responsibility for any state than to protect the lives of its citizens. What we are staring at is a case where we have lost now approaching 100 Kenyans. And yet we are being made to believe that the state was caught unawares. It can never be possible that a functioning state can fail to detect murder of this magnitude. Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I said yesterday, and I want to repeat it here, that what is currently being done by state functionaries, from police to whoever, of rushing to Kilifi, is too little, too late. The question I keep on asking myself is, what are they rushing to do in Kilifi? Are they rushing there to go and count the bodies? Or are they rushing there to go and take photos? Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if there is failure of the state, then this is it. And I dare say that this is unprecedented failure of the state. And it would appear as if the residents of Kilifi are not equal citizens in this country. Because if they can be left to die like rats, as we watch, as the state watches, then what else can you conclude it to be? And I'm speaking. I have said before, and let me repeat again, that the police and all the security agencies must get their priority right. It cannot be that when it comes to chasing politicians, when it comes to policing politicians, they are at their best. When it comes to protecting the lives of helpless Kenyans, they are nowhere to be seen. Madam Speaker, I'm saying this from a point of knowledge and information. Madam Speaker, in the recent past, I've had to change cars, change vehicles, just to try to escape from this, this idea of being followed by these fellas, these agents. They are at their best when pursuing politicians, trying to find out where Wandai is, what he is doing, whom he is with, and what is he saying. That is not the primary role of our security agencies. And therefore, what we would expect as a house, before anything else is done, is that those who are responsible must take responsibility. Before you run to that place called what? Huh? Before you run to Shakahola, you, Bwana IG of police, you, the person in charge of internal security, you must take responsibility. And the only way to take responsibility is by first resigning, Madam Speaker. As we speak, we would have expected to see resignations of those who slept in the job. But more importantly, we must dig deeper into this matter and try to find out what was actually the cause of these deaths. We could be assuming it was starvation, but who knows? Somebody could be running a cartel, somebody could be running a network of people who are selling body parts. Who knows? And therefore we expect that the evidence, the exhibits are preserved until we undertake proper post-mortem for us to understand exactly the cause of these deaths, Madam Speaker. And otherwise, Madam Speaker, as we speak, we are staring at a failing state. These are the...
Your time is up. Minority Leader, Member for Nandi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this weighty matter that has been brought to the floor of this House by Honorable Baya. Honorable Speaker, I want to say that it is a sorry state, Honorable Speaker, to see people dying and to see not just people dying, Honorable Speaker, but hundreds of people dying out of starvation, Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the Honorable Member for having taken the bold step, Honorable Speaker, to even speak about it, Honorable Speaker. This particular matter is not only traumatizing, but it is also exposing us as a country, Honorable Speaker. I want to pass my sincere condolences to the people who lost their loved ones, though others have not been identified, Honorable Speaker. But I want to say, Honorable Speaker, this is a wake-up call also to our community, to the leadership that you have heard, Honorable Speaker, most members pointing fingers. Honorable Speaker, the welfare of the people of this country is dependent on every leader. And leadership, Honorable Speaker, is not bestowed on people, on certain people only, Honorable Speaker. Leadership, Honorable Speaker, and security, as they say, starts with you at home. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that this is a responsibility right from the people who live in that village, right from the administration in that village, and the political leadership, Honorable Speaker. And everyone should be held responsible for the same, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in the wake of this matter, Honorable Speaker, I have been able to, I have drawn my attention, or it has drawn my attention to specific issues, Honorable Speaker. The issue number one, Honorable Speaker, that we must talk about and that we must address, Honorable Speaker, is the issue of regulation of these particular entities, Honorable Speaker. Regulation of the churches, Honorable Speaker, has evolved over time. Previously, Honorable Speaker, when I was a young child, and when I read in history, Honorable Speaker, the churches used to have a well-structured body that used to regulate the number of churches and the type of churches that we have in this country, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I have read and I have grown in a time where the church had a clear stand, where the church had a clear structure of its leadership and its regulation, Honorable Speaker. As we speak, Honorable Speaker, nowadays you can wake up, you can buy a few iron sheets, Honorable Speaker, and you can be able to go and erect a structure and be able to wear a suit and a tie. And I am Honorable Speaker, I am sorry, but most of the people who actually run these churches are men, Honorable Speaker. So someone shows up in a very nice suit and a tie with an iron sheet, a few iron sheets, Honorable Speaker, and is able to set up something that they call a church, Honorable Speaker. This particular structure, Honorable Speaker, are not, yes, of course, Honorable Speaker. These particular structures, Honorable Speaker, they give them different names and weird names, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I think we failed when we actually delegated the duty of regulating these churches, Honorable Speaker, to societies, where you tell someone, for you to be recognized as a church, you can just go to social services, you get yourself registered, and you're recognized in this country, Honorable Speaker, as a church. Honorable Speaker, I think we need to have stringent measures to ensure that we have better avenues, Honorable Speaker, for not only regulating them, but also checking them, Honorable Speaker. Because, Honorable Speaker, as we speak today, if I am on the wrong, Honorable Speaker, the people of Nandi, if they feel like they do not want to have me as a representative in this house again, they have a right to be able, that is guided by the Constitution, to be able to write and say that they are not happy about my representation, and they would like me to go out, Honorable Speaker. The same way when someone commits an offense, Honorable Speaker, you know that you report them to the courts of this country. But, Honorable Speaker, as it looks, Honorable Speaker, we don't know whom to report these rogue pastors or churches, Honorable Speaker, that are doing funny things. Honorable Speaker, it is a wake-up call to us that we should be able to come up with regulations that are regulating these particular enterprises, Honorable Speaker, that keep cropping every other time. Others, Honorable Speaker, want to say that to the people of Kilifi, to the leadership of Kilifi, headed by Honorable Baya, we want to pass our sincere condolences, and we want to say that we are in this together. We'll ensure that this does not happen again in the future, because as it is, Honorable Speaker, it is already bad, and we will not allow it to get worse, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to add my voice to this matter.
Thank you. Member for Gatondo South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I first take the opportunity to thank Honorable Baya for bringing this motion. This is a adjournment motion. Honorable Speaker, I have heard people trading blame, but I look at this thing very differently. To me, it's not an issue of leadership. to me, is more a social issue. It is not an issue of the police going to get these people, because how many people, we do not know how many such Mackenzies are out there, Honorable Speaker. And we shall only know when something like this happens. My question is, for this gullible and vulnerable community and population, we must think about something within a social setting that we are able to protect them, so that even when someone comes and preaches, because Honorable Speaker, I know if that person came and told you to starve yourself to death, you would not. But we have populations that are vulnerable and that are gullible. We must protect them with law. And you know, any sector is supposed to regulate itself. And when it's not able to regulate itself, then the government has no option but to come in and regulate it. You realize that the church now is regulated at the Registrar of Societies. They do not have a group that is either supposed to, you know, tell each other that this is not how it's supposed to be, and have measures to scold or to reprimand those who go against it. Madam Speaker, this is a very sad state. We do not even know the end of it. We do not even know how many people we are going to find or how many bodies we are going to find. What I would urge is that this House sits and does proper legislation that is going to manage and regulate how the churches and how the religious space is operated. I know it will not be a very welcome move, but we must be bold enough to take that which is not popular, but that which is correct and that which is good. So, Madam Speaker, when we look at where this gentleman decided to go and hide, you will find that he went to the sleepy areas of Kilifi County. It might take time before the intelligence goes there and finds that there is a problem, but the people can regulate themselves. So, Madam Speaker, what I would say is that even as we speak about education, we must educate our people about the boundaries of the church, the boundaries of hypnosis, so that the populations can protect themselves against those who are coming to prey on them, under the guise of the church, under the guise of going to heaven, under the guise of, you know, radicalization. Then they come and radicalize our children, and they come and now take them to where we find ourselves. I would say that we put this in our education system, and that we also, as leaders, take the role to make sure that socially we interact with our people and take care of them, because we can give them direction without leaving them to the devices of those who are evil. So, Madam Speaker, I beg to support the adjournment of this motion and move and ask that we get some regulation that is able to control this space within which we operate. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Nominated member, Bishop Kosgei.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to use this opportunity to thank the member, the majority deputy leader, for bringing in this motion of adjournment to discuss this particular very, very hurting and emotional thing. As I contribute, Madam Speaker, I wish to state as follows. Having listened to commentators in the country over television and listening to my colleagues in this House, this is a state of what the psychologists would call it psychopathy. It has nothing to do with religion. Religion is an excuse. There is no religion that teaches to murder people in this kind of order. Scientists have said that a person affected by chronic mental disorder with abnormal, violent, and social behavior. This is a mental issue which has affected leaders over in history, Madam Speaker, both in politics and in religion. I wish to mention a few as we look at this matter today. That a case of Jim Jones in the United States of America on the 18th November 1978. He was a very intelligent man in 1940s, but in 1978 something developed and he murdered 900 people in the name of religion, including one of them was a congressman who had visited them. America did not institute a legislation or a legislative process to contain this. It was discovered as a mental issue. 20 years ago, we had another incident in Uganda, what they call Kanungu cult massacre, where someone locked up people, about 700, and murdered them, used in the name of religion. This is a psychological issue that if we rush to regulate the space, soon we will over-regulate our space. It is also said of Hitler, who murdered 6 million Jews, that he had a mental disorder. And that is why I wish to say there are instruments of law available in the country to manage such menace. It takes only responsibility of every individual entrusted with the protection of the society to make sure that they detect this. In the case of Mackenzie, it was not noticed yesterday. It has been there over 5 years ago, and it has been detected, but people took it for granted. It is an appeal that all who are in church, whether in the church system, they should be able to notice whether their ministers are in good mind and sound. So including our social leadership. So Madam Speaker, I support this. It is a wake-up call for us as a country and instruments of law, both who are implementing to detect such happenings amongst our society and protect our people from mad people. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Busia, Honorable Catherine Omanyo.
Finally, I will use this. Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is actually ludicrous, inconceivable to even hear that at this moment in time, we still have not been warned enough, according to Hosea 4:6, where he says, "My people perish due to lack of knowledge." And the Bible also warns us in Matthew 7:15, where we have been told that there'll come false prophets. I mourn with the families as a leader because these people lost hope. They might have lost hope in government, and that is why they rush to anybody like this, who is very manipulative and controlling, who can use any means to take advantage of our people. The same thing happened in America between 1955 and 1978, where there was a pastor, in quotes, called James Warren Jones, who did a revolutionary suicidal thing by brainwashing his followers, pretending to be protecting them from some harm of the government. And when they started knowing that he's actually lying to them, when they started running away, they were murdered. So this kind of man is not a pastor. This is a devil worshiper or a terrorist who comes in the name of the Lord. And to those who are unsuspecting, they actually believe, hoping that something good will come out. And that is how they end up being killed, or whatever they are doing, or sacrificing them. We just want to be sensible as Kenyans, to watch out where we go, where we call churches, how these people who stand on the pulpit tell us or teach us if it is truly coming from the Bible and only the Bible, examples from the Bible. So I need, if possible, the government to use a quick response unit to surround that area with an emergency, because this is like a massacre or a mass murdering that has happened there along the years. Now that it has come out and the same person who has been arrested before released, if you look at the bail that was charged Only 10,000. So many lives have been lost. I think somebody somewhere is sleeping over his job and not taking any one of a Kenyan life, any Kenyan life serious. We need all the leaders of Kilifi, and they are seated right here, and every leader in Kenya to teach or enlighten their people. We can be talking or saying that the village elders or Nyumba Kumi leaders or the chiefs or the police, whoever we are pointing at the finger, I think all of us in our small churches that have mushroomed in every village, we need to know what exactly are they teaching. Because most of these pastors, some of them are foreigners. They are all over in the corridors of our streets, cheating Kenyans out of their money. Because a greedy pastor, a thief, who came to use the Bible, but only to gain. When I see the Bible, Jesus lost so that somebody else can gain. Why are they gaining and people losing? These are witches, these are wizards, these are conmen, thugs or murderers. They are not pastors. Thank you.
Member for Kathiani.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. First, of course, I would like to thank the mover for coming up with this is something that we really needed to talk about. But as I thank him, I want to just mention that he should not have talked and become tribal, because he kind of connected me with this. He has apologized. Madam Speaker, I was shocked at the photos that we saw of those very malnourished Kenyan citizens that were hoodwinked into joining that cult. I was also shocked to see on social media videos circulating of young children that were rubbishing education, probably even medical care, and saying that it wasn't God's plan. But mostly, I'm shocked at the number of people that have been buried in those shallow graves. And that obviously, Madam Speaker, there cannot be anything godly about the whole of this activity. This is something, in my opinion, is purely satanic. And when we talk religion, we must be careful not to use the name of God for such ungodly acts. Madam Speaker, I have been asking myself since this thing happened, what exactly makes Kenyans gullible to this level? And I've realized there's three things in my opinion. One of them is I think Kenyans are getting desperate. Our level of education or training is not very good. And finally, of course, the level of poverty. Madam Speaker, we must analyze what has been happening because of these problems Kenyans are facing. There are those religious leaders that have been taking advantage of our citizens. And Madam Speaker, even if we leave this one that has gone to the extremes, there are very, very many preachers, Madam Speaker, that are getting rich at the backs of very poor Kenyans, that are hanging on their shoulders and stepping on their backs and telling them that they will preach and they will be able to pray for them so that they can be prosperous. Those are so many in this country, and Madam Speaker, they are getting rich overnight because of that. Madam Speaker, we have also other examples of preachers that have, we've seen them on TV, that come out there and purport to be able to heal people, and they charge a small fee for it. And Madam Speaker, every time these things are exposed, it is strange that more Kenyans go to those churches, even after knowing that those preachers were actually carrying out a hoax. Madam Speaker, I've seen a very recent video, I'm sure most members have seen, of a church leader telling people to hold their mobile phones up and pray, and M-Pesa will enter their phones. And I was wondering, what magic, Madam Speaker, is this, surely? And this is the kind of thing. And you see hundreds of followers shaking their phones, waiting for M-Pesa to enter. Madam Speaker, I think we need to do something about it. Madam Speaker, my question is, what is the government doing about this instead of complaining? And I think when I speak government, I also want to say what are we as leaders of the National Assembly also doing about this? I believe that if we sit and think about it, we will realize that if we talk to each other, instead of talking at each other, we may come up with solutions. Her Excellency Ida Odinga talked about regularizing these churches a while back and said there are some churches which have a man owns a church, the wife is the deputy preacher, the son is the treasurer, the daughter is the secretary. It's a family business. And she said we need to regularize to ensure that the people that are given an opportunity and a pulpit are those people that have the correct training and the right intentions. And she was vilified, Madam Speaker. Now today, as a country, we are regretting. So, Madam Speaker, I want to ask that as a House, let us go beyond the talk of today. Let us look at what laws we can come up with and what laws we can amend so that we can regulate this industry, because it is an industry now. And religion is matters of the heart, but it is important that we protect those poor and gullible Kenyans. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Member for Emuhaya.
Honorable Speaker, religion and the church has a long history, and religion seems even to have come much earlier than the state. And the states all over the world have really grappled with how to control religion and issues of registration of religions. For instance, Honorable Speaker, in France it was very difficult, and even at one time Maximilian Robespierre introduced a new religion called the cult of the Supreme, just to try and defeat the church, but he was defeated. In America, it was until the 1571 that America decided to completely exclude itself from religion, so that to allow religious actions to act. Our real challenge, but before I go to our real challenge, Honorable Speaker, even Jean-Jacques Rousseau of the French Revolution, who believed that every man must be very free and freedom of everybody, still decried the extent to which religion should be given space. And he thought that governments and states must have boundaries beyond which religion must not extend. Our real challenge, Honorable Speaker, lies in the law that we have. And when you look at the law, that is our Constitution on Article 32, it gives immense powers to religions and forms of beliefs that any one person may want to believe in. Just to look at Part 2 of 32, every person has a right, either as an individual or as a community, with others in public or in private, to manifest any religion or believe thoughts of worship, practice any teachings, or observe any beliefs, including observance of worship days. If you read the entire Article 32, it gives too much space for operation of religion, and even mentions any beliefs that that person may be acting on. I think this was a wake-up call. Honorable Speaker, I mourn with the people and families of Kilifi, especially the mothers and those children who died because they did not know what their fathers believed in, who have passed on because they did not know that their parents were actually believing in a religion that was going to kill them. And therefore, on my own behalf and on the behalf of the people of Emuhaya, we want to mourn with the people of Kilifi and ask the authorities to take the quickest possible measure in order to bring that to an end. Honorable Speaker, the underlying factor will then remain, what else shall we do after dealing with the Kilifi manifest? That is, which laws can we put in place so that we can control the religions that are coming up every day in and out? One time in the 12th Parliament, a honorable member came to this Parliament with a law that was supposed to regulate religion, and every member of Parliament shied away from that particular law and allowed the matter to die a natural death. The truth is that the happening in Kilifi has now made even the religious leaders themselves. Yesterday I saw them address the state, and they said that they also think that there's need or some form of regulation to actually control which type of religion, beliefs, and practices that are coming up in this particular country. And this could be the correct chance for Parliament and those of us who can proceed to make a law so that we have some form of regulation on the religions that are upcoming. Honorable Speaker, when did the rain start beating us? Originally, religious sects and churches were registered through the advisory of the NCCK, and there was a council of churches.
that was actually ventilating before they qualify a church to be registered. Today, it is done at the level of societies, and it's easy to register anything, whether as a CBO, as a church, and proceed and manifest your beliefs. And that is where we are. For me, this should be a wake-up call for not only the government, but even the leadership, the House, in totality without blame game, so that we may address the issue of religious practices that are harmful to our people. Thank you, and I support.
Thank you. Member for Kiamba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this motion. May I state that it is very emotive issue that needs an attention of the national government so they can be able to see what is the extent.
What's your point of order, Member for Arieda?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've been here for some time queuing, and I perfectly understand that I cannot jump the queue. At some points, I wanted to raise points of order on some speeches. I was not given the opportunity. So I was now queuing to contribute. But Madam Speaker, it is my understanding that there must be equality of arms in this House. I have, in the last 6 speakers, counted 3 speakers back to back from our colleagues on the other side, and then 1 speaker this side. And right now, there are also 2 speakers back to back from the other side. Madam Speaker, may I urge that I know that in these times, when there are people crossing over here and there in an unregulated matter, it may be difficult to tell, but at least you can tell by where one sits for now. Madam Speaker, may I just urge that we catch your eye more from this side, as the other side seems to catch your eye. Thank you, Madam.
Order, Member for Arieda. I wish you would be patient, but even more importantly, I cannot even see you in the queue. Yes. So just to tell you, in my queue, and I am following it. So just be patient. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Order, members. Honorable Member Kawanjiko, please continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for that protection. I think he was also not on order. May I say that these are very emotive issue, Madam Speaker, that what is happening within our country, especially on matters of the region, Madam Speaker. The issue of religion and Christianity is a very emotive issue that probably sometimes people take it out of hands, and therefore I support the member and appreciate the member of Kilifi, Mheshimiwa Owen Baya, for bringing up these motions so that we can also have a deliberation and a discussion as a House, so that we know, do we really need to move to an extent of making sure that we regulate the churches within our country, and we create a body that probably will help the government to monitor whatever is happening within our churches, Madam Speaker. Some of these issues, they are issues also of national security issue, Madam Speaker, because what happens within those churches, if the government is not keen on whatever happens, the kind of, information that is being passed to the congregants, Madam Speaker, I think it is an issue that will call upon the national government, the internal security minister, so that to start checking out the kind of information that these pastors or the people call themselves pastors who are relaying this information to the members. So that if it's an issue of insecurity, like now, we are being told there are already 73 people. And out of the 73 people, 212 are also missing, Madam Speaker. So it's a very, very serious issue that needs intervention from the national government, that needs intervention from the NSIS, and even the way the issue was handled. We have come from a point whereby we don't have some of this information. The intelligence should be giving out this information to the national police. Now it is a blame game between the NSIS, the National Police Service. And when you look at it, because even the way that some of the churches that are telling and convincing their members, we are Christian, all of us. But I think it is really going overboard, and we don't need to set a team to look into the doctrines that are being preached and propagated by these pastors, Madam Speaker. It is an issue that probably we call upon the National Churches Council to sit down and advise the national government and even the parliament, how do we regulate these log people who are calling themselves pastors, and in essence, they are not pastors, Madam Speaker. They are videos, viral videos, pastors, stepping on other people. They cannot be able to walk. They, even shaving other people, private parts in the name of religion. I think it is absurd, Madam Speaker, and we really need to condemn whatever is happening, but the government needs to wake. The girl needs to wake and at least understand within their localities, within the Nyumba Kumi, what kind of preachings it is going on, because it is a matter of national security, Madam Speaker. And in any case, if someone is radicalizing these people without the intention, without the government knowing what is happening, then it is an issue of it's a threat to our national security, Madam Speaker. I therefore support Mheshimiwa Owen Baya, and we should really come up with regulation so that we can be able to put check and balances of whatever is happening within our churches. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Funyula. Give him the microphone.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm seated behind Bishop Hamala, and I want to make a special plea that you give him to educate us and preach to us on the importance and doctrine of fasting, religion, and the path to heaven. Honorable Speaker, I'm a Catholic, and we Catholic believe in Matthew 6, verse 16 to 18, and allow me, Honorable Speaker, to read as written, and when you fast, do not choose to become gloomy like the hypocrites, for they alter their faces so that their fasting may be apparent to men. Amen, I say to you that they have received their reward. Honorable Speaker, the biblical position about fasting, I'm not a pastor, not a theologian, so I will not bother to delve into it, is that it is supposed to bring you closer to God. It's not supposed to take you closer to the grave. Honorable Speaker, I find it impossible to believe that a human being with the proper faculty can be brainwashed to this level, that to fast to the point of death. Even the most radical people on this earth have got value for life. And the value for life starts with your life and the life of your neighbor. And in the Bible it's written, they ask, who is your neighbor? A neighbor is anybody who has got a breathing soul, whether it's a human being or a domestic animal. Honorable Speaker, the level of radicalization pastors and evangelical cults and religion is something the nation and as a country we must look at it honestly and seriously. Honorable Speaker, some of these cults, I want to call them cults, go to an extent, Honorable Speaker, asking their members to contribute the little they have to their pastors, yet themselves they sleep hungry. Many times, Honorable Speaker, and we stand accused, all of us who are Christians, we would go to church to contribute to buy a car for a pastor, but will never contribute to take a fellow congregant to church. We'll never contribute to take to a child for a fellow prayer group member to school, but will be in a hurry to buy a pastor or whatever you call them, top-range vehicle. And there are very ridiculous cases that you must treat the pastor much better than yourself. Is this kind of brainwashing, Honorable Speaker, that's leading us to this level? And I want to put it very clear, Honorable Speaker, this is a deranged doctrine, it's not biblical, and as somebody has said, and as Bishop has said there, this is a psychological problem, it's not a religious problem. There's no religion, Honorable Speaker, that condones death. There's no religion, Honorable Speaker, that can make anybody can get gratification in seeing somebody's suffering, Honorable Speaker. We must come to terms with their positions. Honorable Speaker, Article 32 provides freedom of worship, freedom for expression of religious belief. But indeed, it's not the absolute right, Honorable Speaker. The state has got a duty and has got a responsibility, Honorable Speaker, to regulate how church behave, how church conduct their activities. There is no reasons whatsoever to shirk the responsibility and then now hop in modern helicopters to go to Kilifi to showcase their cases. Honorable Speaker, we politicians stand accused. Many of us have glorified religion to a point that we call church services, we call congregations, we call whatever we call to go and pray for the economy to improve, for the rains to come. And many of us, Honorable Speaker, this is the kind of seeds we are sowing, and this is what we are reaping for this country, Honorable Speaker. It is time we stop this hypocrisy as stated in Matthew chapter 16 and preach the correct gospel and tell people the truth, not lies that cause them to cause harm, personal harm to themselves. Honorable Speaker, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Member for Rangwe.
I thank you and appreciate you, Honorable Speaker, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to add my voice and the voice of the great people of Rangwe constituency on this matter. Honorable Speaker, allow me also to empathize with the families who've lost their loved ones. And from the reports that we are getting from the media, Honorable Speaker, it is not only one tribe, because there was a case of somebody from Kisumu who had also gone for the holy water plus the fasting. And I also saw somebody from Kajiado who had gone for fasting and prayer. And it cut across the country. So literally, this is not a Kilifi matter. This is a matter that is of national concern, Honorable Speaker. And our Progressive Constitution 2010, Honorable Speaker, provides for freedom of religion. You choose where you want to worship, you choose what you want to worship, to the extent that it helps you and benefits you. Honorable Speaker, Article 38, Article 8 of the Constitution provides that there is no state religion. There is nothing that Kenya sticks to at its own state religion. And in so doing, it adds up to the fact that there is freedom. You choose what you want to worship. Article 53B, Honorable Speaker, recognizes the right of all children to be protected from abuse, neglect, and harmful cultural practices. In this matter, Honorable Speaker, school-going children have been subjected to abuse, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Article 29F provides for freedom and security of persons in a cruel, from cruel or inhuman degrading practices. Religion is a point of practice and a point for people to socialize, Honorable Speaker. You go to church, you can meet friends, and when you are in church, Honorable Speaker, you can socialize. I want to also overemphasize that we need religion, and we have religious leaders. And religious leaders have also contributed immensely to the governance of this country. We cannot castigate all of them, Honorable Speaker. It is unfortunate there is only one egg that is spoiling for the other religious leaders, or a number of them. Religion is playing a fundamental role in keeping human beings sane. And I really don't understand why somebody should use a positive point of human interaction with God to cause death for others, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wonder what a Kenyan, because Pastor Mackenzie is of Kenyan descent, I wonder what a Kenyan would want to see or what he gains when he sees fellow Kenyans dying, Honorable Speaker. The other day we were talking about even school-going children dying in our roads because of accidents. But this is somebody who waylays them and sweet-talks them and gives them holy water and puts them to their death by persuasion. It is even difficult, Honorable Speaker, to put a charge to this particular individual and his cohort. Honorable Speaker, I want to say this with humility. I want to say this, that may God visit Kenya. May God visit our nation. May God have mercy on Kenya. Because if we continue like this as a nation, we will be the laughing stock of the greater East Africa, if not Africa and the rest of the world. I pray for the lost souls. And I also pray to Pastor Mackenzie, because I saw the arrogance with which he was talking to journalists when he was being arrested. Pastor Mackenzie, utalipa. You are going to pay for your sins that you have done. For the people that you have killed, your grandchildren and great-grandchildren will suffer loss. I thank you for the opportunity, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Endebess.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to contribute this motion. On the onset, I want to support the adjournment motion by the Deputy Leader. Madam Speaker, our law talks about aiding suicide, and any person who procure another to kill himself or counsel another to kill himself and thereby induces him to do so, or aids another in killing himself, is guilty of a felony and is liable to imprisonment for life. Madam Speaker, to me, Pastor Mackenzie is a criminal. He's a criminal that has aided more than 90 people to die, and therefore he deserves a life imprisonment. And if authorities, if the courts release him, Madam Speaker, I think the community should take the law into their hands and lynch this man, because that is a very serious thing for somebody to brainwash a whole 90 people to commit suicide through fasting and supervise fasting for that purpose. To me, I think this borders even on genocide, because you cannot take religion either by cultism, through either through sectarianism, or through churchly ways, or through mystical ways, to enforce a group of people to fast to death. That to me is a criminal offense, Madam Speaker. I know that there are churches and there are leaders of the church who have done, who are doing a good job, because religion, everybody has different religions. And my brother, the member for Kakamega, Lurambi constituency, Bishop Kamala, who is a member of my committee, is a good example of good pastors, because he preaches and makes sure that he preaches the right doctrine. And that's why his congregants have been able to elect him twice to this house. So those are examples of good pastors. But there are others who are brainwashing other people through religion, and I think they'll not be able to even see the kingdom of God. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I know there are many people who would want to contribute. Those are my few remarks pertaining this very important adjournment motion, and I support.
Thank you. Member for Kimilili.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to this very important adjournment motion. Madam Speaker, we are talking of 90 souls that has been lost, but the number can even increase to 5,000, depending on whether we have other graves or not. The offense that has been committed by this person called Mackenzie qualifies him to be tried for the offense of genocide at the ICC. Madam Speaker, these people who have lost their lives They have lost their lives in circumstances that they never deserved to lose their life, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, protect me from Raphael Wanjala is interrupting me.
Member for Kimilili, I think you can tell Honorable Wanjala is in his best behavior. So just continue.
I'm probably guided, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, but I must say this. This Mackenzie, when he began his fake church, issues were raised about his conduct. It was very easy for the government of Kenya at that time to just uproot him. But we allowed this man to germinate into a very huge tree that we are struggling to cut today. Madam Speaker, we are also debating about this Mackenzie, and we are also forgetting that we have another fake man in Tongren calling himself Jesus, and wives have abandoned their husbands to go and make that home their first home, that they are living with Jesus, and we are not uprooting this man, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the government of Kenya has tolerated this type of behavior for a very long time. Madam Speaker, it's not just this Mackenzie. We have got very many things that begin as small things. Even as we speak today, the same way the government of Kenya tolerated this Mackenzie is the same way we are tolerating people who are engaging in urban banditry, economic sabotage, and anarchists, Madam Speaker. That from today, I want to advise the IG, I want to advise the Minister in charge of Interior that they should only communicate to Kenyans through a charge sheet insofar as this matter is concerned, insofar as even those other people who engage in anarchy are concerned, and that we must also, as a government, to be able to deal with the criminal activities at the point of germination and not to allow them to grow into a monster that will eat into so much of government resources to deal with them. It is today, Madam Speaker, we just had a statement in the morning about what is happening in Sudan. The people who are causing those havoc in Sudan are known. Even us in our country, we must have a responsible agencies that should be able to identify criminals and arrest them even before they go to execute the criminal activities, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the deputy leader of majority, my very good friend, Honorable Owen Bayer, brought this matter at the right time. And he alluded to the fact that previously before, this Mackenzie was being protected by serious and senior people in government. But today tables have turned. Owen himself is a senior person in this government. He has said he should be arrested. They should be arrested as such, Madam Speaker. And as I finish, the same way we tolerated this Mackenzie, we are also tolerating Raila and Uhuru Kenyatta. These are the anarchists. They should be arrested before they germinate into a very huge tree that will terrorize this country. I support, Madam Speaker.
Member for Malindi. There is no one on his feet, Honorable Wanjala. Member for Malindi.
Asante sana. Asante sana, Bi Speaker. Asante sana.
Member Honorable Wanjala, take your seat. Member for Malindi, endelea. Member for Malindi, please continue. Honorable Wanjala, you have been a nuisance the whole afternoon and you are out of order.
Mheshimiwa Spika na viongozi wenzangu, Mheshimiwa Spika, na kushukuru kwa kunipatia fursa hii kama mbunge wa Malindi niweza kutoa hoja zangu 2-3 kuhusiana na yale masuala ambayo yanakumba constituency yangu na constituency ya Magarini, Kilifi County kwa ujumla. Mheshimiwa Spika, mwanzo nitoe risala zangu za rambirambi kwa wale watu wote na familia zao ambao wameweza kupoteza maisha yao kwa huyu Pastor Mackenzie ambaye ako na itikada kali ambazo sisi kama wananchi wa Kenya hatuwezi kukubali. Mheshimiwa Spika, nichukue pia fursa hii nimshukuru ndugu yangu Owen Baya kwa sababu sisi sote tunatoka Kilifi County na anajua pia yeye imemuuma vile jinsi ambavyo watu wetu wameweza kufa, wameweza kupoteza maisha yao kupitia huyu Pastor Mackenzie. Mheshimiwa Spika, kitu ambacho kinaniuma mimi kama mjumbe na kama mama naumwa na roho, Mheshimiwa Spika, nikifikiria ni wanawake wangapi na ni watoto wangapi ambao wamekufa pasipo na hatia, wamepoteza maisha yao pasipo na hatia. Kuna watu ambao saizi wanatamani uhai, kuna watu ambao wako na kiu huko waliko, wanataka kutoka warudi hapa duniani ili waweze kuona watu wao na kuweza kuangalia familia zao. Inanisikitisha leo hii na napinga vikali hili jambo ambalo Pastor Mackenzie ameweza kulifanya. Mheshimiwa Spika, sisi katiba yetu inaturuhusu uhuru wa kuabudu, lakini matatizo ni lazima tuseme pale ambapo yalipo. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kwamba kuna watu ambao wanajaribu kubadilisha na wanajaribu kupoteza watu kwa sababu ya uhuru wa kuabudu wenye ambao iko katika katiba yetu. Na mimi ninapozungumza hivi nasema hivi Mheshimiwa Spika, si watu wa Malindi ama Kilifi County peke yake ambao wameathirika. Ukiangalia vizuri Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna watu ambao wametoka Kisii, watu ambao wametoka Kisumu, watu ambao wametoka Taita Taveta. Kwa hivyo hili ni jambo lenye ambalo limebeba kila Mkenya Mheshimiwa Spika. Na niendelee kwa kusema haya si matatizo ya kwamba mtu amesoma ama mtu hajasoma Mheshimiwa Spika. Haya ni matatizo ambayo yanakumba Wakenya wote Mheshimiwa Spika. Na hili jambo la madhehebu ambao wako na misimamo mikali, Mheshimiwa Spika, niwakumbushe Wakenya wenzangu, kuna dadangu mmoja mrembo sana aliyesoma Mheshimiwa Spika, na huyu dada anaitwa Esther Arunga. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kwa sababu ya masuala kama haya tumepoteza a very talented lady Mheshimiwa Spika. Na wakati ule sisi kama Wakenya tulinyamaza na hatuchukua hatua yoyote Mheshimiwa Spika. Na hili ni jambo lenye ambalo haliangalii dini moja. Na ndio maana mimi nasimama hapa kusema tukumbuke sisi kama Wakenya wakati wa Garissa University attack pale mwaka wa 2015. Tukumbuke Westgate Mall attack. Haya matatizo yote ama hivi vitendo vyote vilitokana pia na masuala ya msimamo mkali na utikadi mkali ambao watu wanatumia kwa upande wa religion ama upande wa dini, na ndio wanazidi kupoteza watu wetu Mheshimiwa Spika. Mimi nataka niseme hivi, kuna dada mwingine ambaye ni mhudumu wa ndege ameweza kuacha kazi yake. Mwanamke ambaye ako na kazi yake, ako na pesa zake, ameacha kazi yake, ameuza kila kitu na amekwenda kutoanisha pesa zake zote kwa pasta. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, hili ni jambo la kusikitisha.
Muda wako umekwisha Mheshimiwa Amina. Nafasi hapa hatuwezi kuongeza. Huu mjadala ni dakika 5, hakuna kupitisha hata nukta moja. Mheshimiwa Walurambi, uko kwa kipasa sauti.
Thank you, Honorable Madam Speaker. I've been waiting for this chance because I'm a bishop of the Cornerstone Ministries, and I've been preaching for the last 32 years. Madam Speaker, I want to congratulate the Deputy Majority Leader for bringing the adjournment motion, because this is a very important issue for us to discuss as a parliament because it has captured the attention of our entire country. Madam Speaker, even we have people from my own constituency of Lurambi who have died. And right now we are fundraising to bring the bodies back to Kakamega. Honorable Speaker, when I was registering our church way back in 1996, it was not easy. It took us 5 to 6 years to get registered. The NIS was always on the ground to do a thorough investigation and get proper intel concerning the church with the people that were applying for the registration, our intentions. And that has been watered down over time because if you go down to those organizations and churches that were registered around that time in the 90s, in the 80s, for example, let me not talk about the mainstream churches like the ACK, the Catholic Church, but if you look at other churches like the Redeemed Gospel Church, Deliverance Church, and other ministries that came, have carried themselves with great integrity because there was a threshold. When you look at the work that the NIS is doing right now, there is some kind of a shoddy work that has been done in terms of intel gathering before a church is registered. Madam Speaker, it was not easy to register a church during the days of President Moi. President Moi himself was a churchman. He had nothing against the church, but it was tight so that before they register a religious organization, they know the people that are going to run this church, they know the agenda of this organization before they can put it on paper and license that church to operate. Now, I understand, and when we read the Constitution, freedom of worship, we do have it in Kenya. But we that are here in Parliament, including even the head of state, and all these government agencies, honestly, our hands are tied. The fate of Mackenzie is in the court because one of the problems we have, Madam Speaker, I propose, and I would propose going forward in any gatherings that we go back to NCCK. We have religious bodies that should regulate the church. The church cannot be regulated by government. It cannot. Because you see, preaching is a call. And how somebody executes that calling, it will be seen when they are out there. For example, I have seen a video where a woman comes before a male pastor. So the male pastor begins to say, receive, 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 receive on the chest of the woman, receive, receive. And the woman begins to fall. She begins to receive. She begins to receive. She begins to receive. And there she goes, Pungulio, she has received. How do you arrest that pastor where there's no complainant? And that's why the church receive. Receive. Madam Speaker, receive. The church will only, Madam Speaker, receiving is so much here. Honorable Ngeno is so happy to receive. Madam Speaker, we must strengthen NCCK and other bodies so that they can regulate the church. And if we, thank you, they receive.
Bishop, I'm not sure what they are receiving, but maybe I'll give the member for Masabi to tell us whether she has received anything.
Thank you, Madam. I struggled to receive the mic, but I'm not ready to receive any other thing. Madam Speaker, thank you very much for allowing me to add my voice to this very important motion of adjournment on mysterious killings of people in Shakahola. Madam Speaker, this is a very serious matter that we are discussing, where already over 90 lives have been lost and maybe many more to come. So as a country, this is worse than a massacre. This is worse than COVID-19 that took people. This is worse because even COVID-19, did not register that number of people within a day. This is worse than cancer or any other killer disease that is in the world today. When we talk of a single person who has exploited people under the name of religion, and in our today's world, where every human being is working hard to receive eternal life or to be right with his or her maker, others are busy exploiting people just because of their greed. Madam Speaker, I say their greed because I have watched Paul Mackenzie's video and it looks normal. I'm sure that will be, of course, it will be tested and we will soon know whether he's normal or whether he has some psychiatric problems. But from what you see, he looks okay, and he has exploited many people. He started his church back in 2003, and up to today, he has been in that practice. So my question is, how many lives have been lost in his hand? And the other question is, normally when a church is started, there are many other small churches or branches all over the country. And that is why today I stand to say that it is high time for our government now to put proper investigation in place and know where this kind of practice has been happening in the entire country. Madam Speaker, we have also known that it is not only the people of Kilifi who have suffered in his hand, but many other Kenyans. And so it is good for us now to say, maybe the people who have been disappearing without anybody knowing where they have gone might have suffered in the hands of Paul. Madam Speaker, I mourn with the people who have lost their lives, and especially the young people and the women who have suffered in the hands of this person. And as I said clearly, it is purely because of his greed. And allow me to quote a Bible verse as I speak, because what we have seen is pure exploitation and as a result of greed. In 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 3, the Bible says, "And in their greed, they will exploit you with false words." And those are the same words that Paul has used to exploit people. As I mourn with the people who have died and lost their lives, and as I sympathize with the others who are just about or have been rescued and struggling with their lives, I also mourn with the life of the woman who lost her life yesterday and was killed mysteriously by some attackers in Marsabit town, and a mother of 3, a woman of 38. And my question is, for how long will Kenyans bury innocent women, innocent souls in the hands of the evil doers? Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support this.
Thank you. Member for Seme.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I was the second person in this chamber, and I know I actually put my card early, but thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Madam Speaker, this is a national calamity. This is a national issue. The people who have died are not just from Lamu or Malindi, they are from across the country, as far as Siaya, all across the country. Let me start by passing my condolences to these families. Madam Speaker, we have actually 3 issues here that we have to look at. The mental issue and mental status of the people who do these things. We have the security issues that we as a country should put in place. Then there's the regulation, the legal framework under which churches work. I think, Madam Speaker, these are the areas we should look up. These people who do these things, they are not pastors, even if they go in the name of pastors. These are actually people with personality disorders. Most of them are psychopaths, extremely intelligent and manipulative. And it's not only in Kenya, it has happened, the South African, the American case that somebody was talking about, actually 900 people died. In Uganda, I think there were over 400. And they devised how people die. The people that are the victims are actually people who are vulnerable. And the process is the process of indoctrination and mass hypnosis. So that even if you were to find these people before it happens, even if you are to remove this person, unless you get rid of him, these people will follow them and do what they want. That's the situation we are in. In the American one, they were actually given drinks, and they pray as they take the drinks and die. In the Ugandan one, they all prayed and went into church and kept the church alive. And they don't even want to be removed. So these psychopaths have to be dealt with. And they pick people who are vulnerable. It has nothing to do with wealth. It has nothing to do with education. People are vulnerable mentally. And when people are in severe psychological situations, they get more vulnerable. So they have to be protected. And that, in a situation like ours, where we are getting a high prevalence of mental ill health, more people become vulnerable to these people. The second issue we should look at, Madam Speaker, the security system. How can these people cannot be picked? As far as 2017, a children's officer noticed that the children who are in this religion were actually not being taken for treatment. That's normally very common. They detach you from all support systems. Nothing was done. You can hear the police was aware, nothing was done. In these cases, some of these people were reported missing. And we ask ourselves, in this country, when people are reported missing, even when people die, nobody takes keen interest to investigate, to go into details until you find out what has actually happened. Because if these things had actually been followed in detail, we would have stumbled on this thing much, much earlier. The state intelligence, how come in a village, in a whole area, this cannot be picked? There is negligence on our part in this matter. Madam Speaker, the next thing we should look at is the regulation and the monitoring of churches. The churches are registered under the Societies Act. It is time we asked, Madam Speaker, should we look at another act to actually regulate the churches? How do we monitor what the churches do? All enterprises in the country, whether it is health or what, there are systems that monitor what you do, how you behave. We can pick these people if the churches were monitored. There are actually people who are pastors, people who are religious, but these zealots, these psychopaths can actually be picked if you are the system who can pick them, even when they are pretending to be churches, and get them away from the people.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Member. Your time is up. Member for Matuga.
Asante, Mheshimiwa Spika. Ni kwa huzuni sana kwamba inabidi tuahirishe shughuli za kawaida ya bunge tuzungumzie hoja ambayo ingekuwa inazuilika endapo sote kama Wakenya, sote kama viongozi tungekuwa tumewajibika vilivyo. Nchi hii ya Kenya ni nchi ambayo inajivunia kwamba ni nchi ya kidini. Wako wachache labda ambao watasema hawamwamini Mungu ama hawana dini, lakini wengi ni wale ambao kwanza tunajua kwamba katika nchi hii ya Kenya Wakristo ndio wengi, kisha Waislamu na Wahindi. na imetokea kwamba watu wanatumia dini vibaya ama masuala ya dini vibaya. Saa hizi tunazungumzia kwamba eti kuna mchungaji alitumia kwamba watu wafunge hadi kufa, ambao ni fasting. Tumemaliza sisi Waislamu siku 30 za kufunga, na funga hayui mtu. Funga ni tiba. Funga inatibu magonjwa mengi ya kisukari, ya moyo, ya mafuta mwilini. Funga inakupatia uzima mwilini. Na hivyo ndivyo ilivyo katika dini zote, sio za Kiislamu, lakini hata kwa Kristo ambao pia hufunga. Lakini sasa unakuta kwamba katika hawa watu ambao malengo yao aidha, manake huwa sikuua hasa, malengo yao huwa ni kujitajirisha kwa haraka, na wanapata nafasi hiyo kwa sababu wengi wetu, najua hata viongozi wamepoteza pesa kwa sababu ya kupeana mapasta wale wahubiri eti pesa zao zitaongezeka kwa ghafla. Si muda mrefu tulikuwa kuna mmoja alikuwa akipanda mbegu, yeye alikuwa haui mtu, lakini kitambo yeye ajitajirishe, wale wanaotoa wanatamaa kwamba wao nao watatajirika, na ili hali tunajua hakuna njia ambayo unaweza kujitajirisha haraka ikiwa hutakuwa na mtaji aidha wa kufanya kazi ama kufanya biashara. Sasa hivi tunazungumzia swala la Shakahola, na ndugu zangu wale ambao walikuwa wanasema kwamba wakilaumu serikali kwamba eti ni kijiji, pengine wangejifahamisha kwamba eneo hili la Shakahola ni ekari 800. Ekari 800 tutasema labda karibu ni mji mzima wa Nairobi. Kwa hivyo sio mahali rahisi wa kusema askari walikuwa wapi, polisi walikuwa wapi, ikiwa unazungumzia eneo kubwa la ekari 800 ambalo ni msitu. Huyu bwana alienda pale kama mkulima, na ndio maana akaweza kununua hii shamba, akaweka bwawa la maji kwa sababu ili kujificha. Kwa hivyo haikuwa rahisi, na tusilaumiane kwamba serikali ingeweza kumjua huyu bwana. Lakini tatizo ni sisi ambao tuko huku nje, tukiambiwa kwamba kuna mhubiri ambaye anaweza kufanya wewe upate fedha haraka, hapo ndio tatizo iliyoko. Sidhani kama kuna mtu yeyote ambaye kwa imani yake anakubali kwamba akifa ama akijiua ndio ataenda mbinguni. Hakuna kitabu, sio cha Kiislamu, sio cha Biblia, ambacho kinaruhusu mtu kujiua, endapo mtu ataweza kuisoma dini yake yeye mwenyewe na kujaribu kuielewa. Lakini mara nyingi ni masuala ya kuwa mimi na fedha zangu, nikienda pale na ahidiwa kwamba nitaombewa niweze kupata fedha zaidi. Nikimalizia, pastor na ni bishop, sitamalizia bila kuzungumzia Yesu wa Tongereni ambaye yuko huko kwako. Huyu bwana anajiita Yesu na mnamkubali kule, na naye ana itikadi kama hizi. Tunangojea watu waanze kufa ndio tulaumu serikali na kulaumu machifu. Kwa hivyo suluhisho ni kwamba serikali iweze kuorodhesha makanisa na dini zote, na pili, endapo kuna mtu anajitwika majukumu ambayo tunajua si yake kama Mungu ama Yesu, moja kwa moja aweze kukabiliwa kabla maafa yapatikane. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na nampongeza Owen Baya kwa kuleta hii hoja.
Thank you. Member for Kisii.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Mackenzie arrested, Mackenzie released. Mackenzie arrested, Mackenzie released. It's only this Mackenzie who is being arrested, having done a criminal thing, and being released. Several of these things, Madam Speaker, do defiled. She reported the matter to the police station. Now she's not a victim. The victim, the suspect, is loitering around. The victim now, the mother and the daughter, are being investigated. You can imagine. We let go of the culprits and we start investing on the victims, which is very wrong. Now, when we look at the story of Pastor Mackenzie, we realize that several of these pastors, They come with very sweet names. I'm Ronnie, I'm Pastor Ronnie. When the congregation hear that, they are flying high, just praising the name. Leave alone the name of the church. Well-wishers Pentecostal Church, Revival what? With these funny names. And they clap high, they celebrate. The pastor comes in, I flew out of the country with my dog, Rambo, and they clap. Those are the things that our members, the Kenyans, are enticed with. They are brainwashed. They don't even think. I saw a video of a woman who was being rescued, Madam Speaker. She said, allow me to die. Pastor Mackenzie said, I'm going to heaven. Please don't take me to hospital. Please don't give me food. I looked at that woman and wondered, what kind of weed has she taken? How did this Pastor Mackenzie manage to convince the congregants that you can't even go for medication, that you give all that you have? You see, Madam Speaker, there's this common thing. When you are in church, you are told, release yourself. Set yourself free. And you are at this mood of releasing yourself. You release everything. You release your properties. Release yourself, Madam Speaker. Release has made people mad. And receive. You are receiving. You are being touched. You are receiving, members of parliament. Receive. They receive, Madam Speaker. What they are receiving, they can't even tell. It's like you ask our people, I come from Kisii, Madam Speaker. You ask them, why do you even celebrate FGM? They will tell you, we don't know, but we are told this is what we have to go through. And nowadays, it's not even done by the traditional excisors. Doctors are doing it. And you want to tell me that the government is not aware? Most of these things, the government is aware. Like, where were the chiefs? 90 bodies. People being rescued from the forest. Sometimes even try to go collect firewood from the forest. You'll be arrested. But bodies are found in the forest. People are rescued from the forest. This is very sad, Madam Speaker. The people are misusing the church. People are being misled, and we are watching. Things happen. People are killing each other. No one is talking. You report defilement cases at the police station, nothing happens. People are robbed. You report to the police station, then the culprits will tell you, you are just wasting your time because I will use my money to set myself free. So Mackenzie will use his money to set himself free. We are just talking, I don't know, but that man, Mackenzie released, Mackenzie arrested, Mackenzie released. Mackenzie released, Mackenzie arrested. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Kaloleni.
Asante Bi Speaker kwa kunipatia muda huu. Kwanza kwa niaba ya wakazi wa Kaloleni, kwa niaba ya mimi mwenyewe na familia yangu, nataka nitoe rambirambi kwa familia ambazo zimepoteza watu wao. Bi Speaker, hili ni janga la kitaifa. Kwa sababu hatuwezi kupoteza watu zaidi ya 90. Huyu Pastor Mackenzie amejulikana tangu mwaka 2017. Na ni kwa nini mimi bado ninalaumu vyombo na vitengo vya usalama? Bi Speaker, tuko na wazee, tuko na mabalozi wa nyumba 10. Tuko na wazee wa mitaa na masabchifu ambao kila wakati hupeleka ripoti za ujasusi ili kujua serikali kunafanyika nini. Lakini kwa sababu hatujakuwa na thamani na hawa wazee wa mitaa na mabalozi wa nyumba 10, ndio tumefikia pale tulipo. Nchi hii inatawalwa na sheria na katiba. na tunajua katika nchi yetu kuna uhuru wa kuabudu, lakini sijaona kuna uhuru wa kuambia watu wafe ili wamwone Mungu. Tumesikia Mackenzie yuko na watoto 17. Wanaishi maisha ya kifahari. Yeye mwenyewe hajafunga na hajakufa. Ni rahisi bispika kutoa mfano kwa kitu chochote, lakini ni vigumu zaidi wewe mwenyewe kwa mfano. Angekuwa kweli anataka kuonyesha mfano bora, watu wasikule chakula ili wafe wamwone Mungu, angekuwa wa kwanza kufanya nini? Kufunga na kufa. Hili ni kosa la jinai, na huyu anatakana kufunguliwa mashtaka kule Holanzi ya mauaji ya halaiki. Na ni jambo la kutamausha. Baadhi ya hawa ambao wanajiita mapasta wameona njia ya kujitajirisha ni kufungua makanisa, na ni jambo ambalo hawa baada ya kujitayarisha wao hutumia pesa zao na kujiweka mbele katika serikali. Utawaona mahali serikali ipo wanajiingiza pale wakisema kwamba wao wanaomba, lakini wanajificha ili matendo yao ya kinyama kishetani yasijulikane. Bispika, mimi ni Mkatoliki na ninataka nishukuru kongamano la maaskofu wa Katoliki kwamba sasa muda umefika wa kufanya sheria ili kuangalia ni makanisa gani ambayo yanafanya nini, yanatumika. Kule kwangu kuna watu wanajiita waombezi. Anakuja na hawa waombezi wameharibu familia nyingi za watu. Anaweza kuja aseme bibi yako anakuroga ama nani wako ni mchawi. Familia zinakosana. Ni vipi binadamu wa kawaida unaweza kuuza mali yako yote? Umesikia? Mtu aliuza mali yake akapata milioni 50, amempelekea pasta, alafu yeye anaenda jangwani msituni akaombe ili afe. Hili ni jambo ambalo linataka kuchunguzwa. Na ni kwa nini bispika? Tutajiuliza maswali mengi ambayo hayana majibu. Huyu pasta mhalifu alipataje ekari 800 ikiwa serikali haijui matendo yake? Eka 800, mimi hata sijafikisha eka 3. Lakini yeye yuko na eka 800 ambapo anazika watu ndani ya msitu na watu hawajui. Ni muda sasa tunataka watu wachunguzwe, hawa mapasta, nyendo zao na itikadi zao kali ambazo zimeleta maafa katika nchi hii. Na unasikia kuna huyu Yesu ambaye amepatikana huku wapi huku? Tongoreni. Sasa huyu Yesu asiposimamishwa sahihi, tutakuja kupata maafa haya ambayo tunayazungumzia kuhusu huyu Pastor Mackenzie. Asante bispika kwa kunipa muda.
Asante mbunge wa Thika.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, first is to thank Honorable Baya for coming up with this motion so that we can even speak of other matters that had come to our attention but did not have this platform. Madam Speaker, people were expecting Mackenzie to be remorseful when he was being arrested. But what we don't know, this gentleman has killed over 90, if not 100 people. So he doesn't see anything big. And the same way he has brainwashed all those people, he thinks it's the same way he's going to brainwash all of us. And since he was arrested since 2017 and released and arrested and released as late as March of this year, so to him, he doesn't see anything wrong with what the members were doing in his church. Honorable Speaker, Mackenzie, people can say he's sick. What he has taken for you to take advantage of people or people who you stay with, there's one thing you do. You pretend to love so that these people can become vulnerable. That is the only time you can be able to touch their hearts. So this Mackenzie knew the language where these people would understand. But that has not put Mackenzie alone, because I don't think in his high level, if people are listening to him like that, it means he has other followers who are doing his dirty job. Why am I saying this? All those graves cannot be dug by one man. It means Mackenzie has his own foot soldiers. Once you die, who is going to bury you? So when we were arresting and seeing Mackenzie being arrested alone yesterday, it baffled me, because why arrest him alone, and yet you are showing us the many graves that these people were being buried, and even as late as today, by last night, there were 73. Right now, we are approaching 100. And if you see from the desk from Red Cross, we have seen those still missing are 200 plus. What these fake clergies are doing, because they are fake, because they are good one, first they are inflicting fear. But if people read the Bible very well, 2 Timothy 1:7 says, the Lord has not given you a spirit of fear, but of sound mind. So if you go to church and you feel you don't have sound mind, then you know you are in the wrong places. And when we are discussing this Mackenzie, there are so many other Mackenzie all over, even our nation. Those ones who rob people broad daylight in the name of church. And we are not talking about it. Even as honorable members, we are not talking about it. Why? You are going to be hated by the clergy from your area. No, let us call out those who are not good. Even the clergy themselves, they also know those ones who are fake. They need to call them out and call them as they are: thugs, terrorists, murderers. Because if you go somewhere and you take young children and mothers who are vulnerable, tell them, tarumbeta iko karibu kupigwa, parapanda ndio hiyo, Mwenyezi Mungu anarudi. And you know, they know that this country is a religious country. People love God. So everybody will be holding like this. Because when you hear from what they are saying that is New Jerusalem. Mackenzie, I don't know what name they have given Mackenzie. So those ones who are going there, they are already vulnerable. You are told don't eat, your children don't eat. You die as we watch you, and they tell you are going to heaven. Yet Mackenzie is not dying. Yet the foot soldiers are not dying. Yet Mackenzie's wife is not dead. But these people are not asking those questions because of fear. He has inflicted fear on these people. They are not even thinking. They are not even themselves. So what we are going to do as honorable members of this house, if you go back home and you hear there is that church, hakuna uchaguzi wa 2023. Uchaguzi ni wa 2027. It is a high time we call them out to help our people back at home. Otherwise, we are going to hear this thing like we had in Thika, a food wakili.
Your time is up, Honorable Ngelechei.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Madam Speaker, I also want to contribute to the motion, and let me appreciate the Member of Parliament for bringing it to us so that we can debate and discuss about it, Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, when you see the way some churches and some people are operating the likes of Mackenzie, it is about, very soon we are going to categorize religion as some of the emerging threats of security. Every now and then, people keep reviewing the threats of security. At times, the latest threat of security being climate change, terrorism, cybercrime. But very soon, if we go at this pace, which, Madam Speaker, religion will be added in the list of emerging security threats. This is because, Madam Speaker, how can one person, in the name of religion, manage to kill, because actually that person has led those people to death. More than 90 people, 90 and still counting, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's about time the government also and the people of the Republic of Kenya, those with sound mind, should stand and defend those people who are ignorant and innocent. Because you find some of these followers, Madam Speaker, who follow blindly religion are either illiterate people, semi-illiterate people. They are people who are very desperate. And Madam Speaker, at times, those of us who have sound mind, leave, you know, some of these leaders, some of these religious leaders, Madam Speaker, are either people who are depressed, some have suffer from mental illnesses, some are con men, some have criminal records, and most of them are not straight people in life, Madam Speaker. They have a history of conning people or a history of doing some weird things, Madam Speaker. And at times I keep wondering, why do those people with sound mind, upright people, fear to confront them? We have so many examples of religious leaders who do similar things with the Pastor Mackenzie. But you find that people fear to call them out. Probably because they fear, there is fear of the unknown. At times we may be fearing that they are so much surrounded with supernatural powers, imaginary powers, that we fail to call them out. But when it comes to a point whereby somebody leads innocent children, and some of the followers who go following, you find that they are illiterate people, maybe they are very poor, they are desperate people, miserable people. Some add to those churches in search of solutions to problems, Madam Speaker. What I'm trying to say is we should actually find a way of protecting those people who find help but end up in wrong hands, thinking that they are going to be helped, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have so many other leaders, spiritual leaders, but you find in this house today, because we are debating about Mackenzie, we also fear to call them. But they have led to misery, and they have led people to be from bad to worse. There are some leaders, Madam Speaker, who start by brainwashing people that for you to go to heaven, you must leave all the earthly things. But don't leave them where you are. Take it to them. Why do they need it if at all they want to go to heaven, Madam Speaker? You find others tell people to leave things they treasure, to leave their children, to leave their families, to leave their work, and go and follow them. Some people, Madam Speaker, are